Welcome to the therapy floor with Dr. Ritz.
And I'm Dr. Vicky. We are on the floor getting deep into the human experience, unpacking everyday dilemmas through the lenses of two psychologists.
Let's start unpacking today's dilemma.
Let's start.
So this one comes in from a woman in her 30s and she says, I'm about to go through IVF and feel conflicted about who to tell. I don't want people to feel left out for not being told, but at the same time, not sure if I can deal with lots of people knowing. It's great to have support, but it can feel overwhelming at an already stressful time. It's also difficult to feel like you need to listen to everyone's advice about fertility and IVF. It's information overload. I worry that by not doing every single thing, it will be my fault if it isn't successful. There's just lots of noise and I don't think it's healthy to listen to it all.
Okay, thank you so much for sending this in. And I guess I'm feeling like pressure emanating from this dilemma and this situation through what may be an already stressful period, and physically stressful, psychologically stressful. But I'm almost seeing this dilemma in two parts. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, Ritz, but I'm thinking that the first part, it sounds like she's really wanting some validation for something that she probably has already decided.
It's that last sentence, isn't it? There's a lot of noise and I don't think it's healthy to listen to it all. So she's already like, that's quite a strong statement to make at the end.
Yeah. It sounds like she already has a clear opinion on what is right for her. And maybe she's needing some validation to say, yeah, that's okay, that you're doing what is right for you. So there's that part. And I guess maybe we can just offer you that validation, that it's okay for you to decide what's going to be good for you in this moment, whether that's deciding who to tell, not telling everyone in your circle, and also in not taking on everyone's advice because of just how overwhelming that's going to feel. So yeah, that's the first thing I want to say. It sounds like you already know what you want to do, and I think that's valid.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I totally agree with that. I kind of also want to wonder, why is she thinking about everyone else? You know, this journey that she's about to embark on, it is really all about you and your body and your needs and your emotions. And you sound like a really empathic person, that you're worried about, you know, not telling other people how they're going to feel, like trying to look after other people's feelings, when actually, as you said, the validity here is your feelings.
Yeah.
Like, take permission to do what's best for you within this. And, you know, if people are offended, that can be almost like dealt with at another point. And maybe we could talk about that, you know, how you could support yourself through that. And really, you know, empathic, as I said, of you. But sometimes the empathy that we have for other people, like, we can overuse it and it can work against us. So then we don't put our needs first and we don't listen to our emotions or our body. That's like telling her in this moment is information overload.
Yeah,
it's too much.
And even if it wasn't that people were giving you too much information and you were going to receive conflicting advice, but just in knowing that maybe you don't want everyone to know what's happening for you. And it sounds like you may be someone who regularly confides in like your tribe, and it sounds like you've acknowledged that you have people that support you. And isn't it so lovely to have people that support us? But we can also define what that support is, and we can clarify what that support may be. So for some people, their support will be you're in this with me, you're checking up on me, knowing how the appointments go. Maybe like you have someone that's giving you injections. Maybe you have someone that's cooking you food if you're like really exhausted, or, you know, sorting your life admin out. And then maybe support could also look like your friends still giving you a sense of normalcy and still, I guess, take maybe even distraction. And they may not know that that's what they're doing for you in the moment because you haven't specifically told them, but you could tell them afterwards. So if you're worried that people will be offended because you've not told them what you were going through whilst you were going through it, you could say, but actually, you are such a support for me. You don't know how, but I'm going to tell you how you are such a support for me. I think it would take a particularly special person after hearing that to still feel really offended. To hear that actually you were such a help to me because this is what I needed from you. And I didn't specifically ask you for it, but I knew you could give it to me and it really helped me. I think it will take a particularly special person to hear that and still feel like entitled.
Well, yeah, because then if they make it about them, that also gives you a lot of maybe insight into your relationship that you maybe didn't notice before.
Yeah.
You know, it could be a friend, it could even be a family member, couldn't it?
Yeah.
That if they take offence that you weren't part of their chosen few that you told, and even after you, as you said, explain, okay, my reason for not telling you is actually you provided with me that sense of normality where I wasn't talking about scans or injections or tests or whatnot. I could just talk to you about who I am without IVF.
Yeah.
Because it is all consuming.
It can be really all consuming, can't it?
Yeah, and to have that break away from it where, you know, you're not being asked about it, somebody doesn't know, and you just get to be who you are, and offer that part of you. And I don't know, if you've ever been through something similar, but I've been through, and it's not IVF, but I've been through a health issue in the past, and sometimes as you said, I've got my tribe who I talk to about it, and then there's people that I don't talk to about it because I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's draining, and it's nice to just have that place to go to where you can say, how's it going? And they're not asking how's the health, how's this, how's that, and
yeah, definitely. And I think I've also been on the other end where I've been maybe a friend who knows that another one of my friends is going through a difficult time or a particular health scare or her health concern, and because I know and I've known that person, or maybe because I'm asking, I can sense, or they can tell me, that actually what they need from me is just to be really normal and not to talk about it and not to bombard them with how you feeling. But, you know, I may just touch in with them every now and again just to say, I know you don't need me to be checking in on you, but I just want you to know I'm always thinking of you. And that was enough for that person. But for another person, they may need something completely different.
Yeah.
So the second part I was thinking of when I said it's almost in two parts. So the first part is that validation seeking maybe that she's expressing here. But I also think there's possibly some fear there as well.
About it not working?
Yeah,
that part.
Yeah. And this fear that, what if it goes wrong and will it be down to me because I've listened to something that I shouldn't have, and just that sense of responsibility that that I could make this fail, or I could get this wrong.
It's a lot of pressure.
And again, want to validate that, but I do also want to challenge you on this belief about getting it wrong, and also the lack of certainty that surrounds something as delicate as this.
Absolutely. I think it sounds like superstition is playing quite a big part in all of this, isn't it? And if somebody said it, they've put it into the universe, therefore I've heard it, and therefore if I've heard it, I should be doing everything in my power to make this happen.
Because I can control
it.
it.
Yeah, that's it, because I can control it.
Yeah. And I think I can understand the temptation to think in that way because we want to feel like we have some level of control. But I don't know if this is something that you necessarily can have any form of control over. But again, I'm not a medical doctor, so you may want to check in with your doctors to see if are some things that you physically
There'll
can.
probably be elements of control, won't there?
Yeah.
There probably will be elements of that. But I wonder if it's actually just rechecking yourself here and saying, I'm not able to control the whole experience.
Yeah. And maybe I can put trust in my healthcare professionals to give me the advice that I need.
And also trust in myself.
Yeah.
That what I'm doing is giving myself the best shot at this.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think she also needs to think about preparing herself for the different eventualities and the different outcomes?
I think it could be helpful. Because when we're tolerating uncertainty, you know, one of the things that you can do is think about the worst case scenario. You know, we call it in CBT downward arrow. What if, what if, what if, what if? So what if this happens? What if that happens? What if? Till you get to this idea of, okay, this is what this represents for me. This is the meaning behind it.
Yeah.
And so if you feel safe enough to go to a place of, you know, what's the worst outcome? What's the best outcome? What's the worst outcome? And with the worst outcome, once you find the meaning behind that worst outcome, how do you then support yourself through that?
Yeah.
What mechanisms do you already have in place? Who do you have to draw on? What mechanisms maybe don't you have that you might then need? And thinking about that, and you know, if you have to use it, then you're almost like semi-prepared for it. Again, you can't control that outcome, but you're semi-prepared for it.
Yeah.
And if you don't have to use it, then
you don't have
to use it, and you've had a great outcome. But I think that can be a really helpful way, because I think sometimes again, it's like I don't. Maybe I shouldn't think of the worst outcome, because then I'm putting that into the universe, and and I think there's again a pressure of with IVF, like be positive, think positive.
And then you'll have a positive result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas lots of people don't have positive results. Lots of people do and lots of people don't. And so I actually haven't worked with couples, but I've worked with women going through IVF. And often what they're coming for is not a solution. It's for holding. Because I don't have the solution, neither do they. But it's just the holding week on week on week through all the appointments up until D-Day. And having conversations around like all the different scenarios running through their heads. Just the pain of waiting, the pain of the uncertainty, the hope, the excitement, and then back down to, oh, I shouldn't get myself so hopeful. And I think all of that is such a normal process to have. And I wonder, do you have a space where you can go to that you're able to talk about all of this, but in a way that feels, because you say it, you don't have to do anything about it, you can just say it?
Yeah. And it may be that, I don't know if it's how far along you are on your journey, but it may be that therapy could be that place for you, because you're talking about it with someone who doesn't have the same emotional investment as your friends and family would. And so it could feel a little bit safer on some levels. For some people it may not. And actually just talking about it with people that are walking you through it is more beneficial. But it could be that therapy could be that space for you, that holding space. And I think that's also something that some people don't realise, that you can just come to therapy just for that.
Just to be
held. To feel held emotionally. And then, you know, sometimes people come to therapy because they have a specific issue that they want to work through and they have a desired outcome at the end of it. But sometimes it can be just a space for you to process and for you to feel held. And
often the fear underlying that's going to be anxiety.
Yeah.
Like what we're doing there is we're holding their anxiety, aren't we?
Yeah.
Because the uncertainty is coming from a place of fear. And, you know, often when we feel fear, we want to push it away, or we want to find an answer to it or a solution to it or make it better. And when you bring a experience like that to therapy, there isn't any making it better. It's just saying, yeah, this is really tough. And I'm here for you each week while you tell me how tough it is.
Yeah.
And if you want to get excited, we can be excited today. And then next week, if you want to come back and it's, you know, it's not exciting, it's scary again, then that's where I'll meet you.
Yeah. I like that. That's where I'll meet you.
Yeah.
So I think, like, at the end of this, it's coming back to, what do you need? Well, it sounds like you have an idea of what you need, which is fab. And don't be afraid to ask for what you need and take what you need.
And that different people can give you different needs.
Yeah.
And you can be the creator of that, in terms of you make that choice of who fulfills what need for you as you go through this. You're allowed to make that decision.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. Should we go on to our next dilemma?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So our second dilemma reads as this. I'm facing a major dilemma about moving countries. My partner has been offered a fantastic job opportunity abroad, and while I'm thrilled for their success, I'm struggling with the idea of leaving everything behind. On one hand, it's a chance for adventure, new experiences, and potentially a better quality of life. On the other hand, I'm deeply attached to my current job, friends, and where we currently live, as we live near our families. How do I navigate this decision without feeling like I'm sacrificing my own happiness for the sake of my partner's career? Indeed.
There's a lot going on in that one.
Yeah.
This person feels really conflicted,
Yeah.
don't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they talk about adventure, and that sounds exciting.
Better quality of life.
Yeah.
Which, who doesn't want that?
Yeah. Like, it sounds like this is a step for us, the next direction that we want to go in for this couple. But that sentence at the end, like, I feel like, oh, that's kind of come out of nowhere.
But you know
Not nowhere, but that's like, that hit me at the end.
Yeah.
The sacrifice. Like,
sacrifice.
Yeah. It's like, you didn't really mention any of this, and now...
But you know what? I'm wondering actually if there is a little bit of a clue towards the beginning, because they've said, whilst I'm thrilled for their success.
Oh, right, yeah, so they were being set up a bit.
Yeah, yeah. So it very much feels like this is for, or maybe not, because you're using the words we, but does it sound like this is for your partner, essentially? Your partner has an opportunity to progress and to become more successful, and basically you're trying to decide whether you hold them back or not, or you move forward. Which is quite a hard question to ask yourself. Yeah. But I think you'll have to own how you feel about this, really. How do you really feel about potentially leaving all that is dear to you, all that matters to you? How do you feel about that? You know? It doesn't sound like, well, maybe it did, but is this something that you would have considered if you didn't have a partner? Like, is this something that you would want? So the benefits, the adventure, the quality of life, improving your quality of life, having new experiences, is that values that you hold yourself anyway? You
know what? I wanted to ask the question, what if you were offered the job?
Oh, yeah. Maybe that's a good way of looking at it, actually.
Yeah. How would you feel then?
That could really give an insight into how you deep down feel about this, and how willing you'd be to make this sacrifice for yourself.
Yeah, and also that when you sacrifice something, or not, sorry, let me reword that. Also, when you move on to the next stage of your life, in this instance, a career, that you're allowed to be sad at some things ending.
Yeah.
Even though there are happier times ahead because of a better quality of life.
Yes.
And living in a different country, and the adventure and the experience that's going to offer. You can also be sad at maybe the loss of routine and the, friendships that you've built, and being close to family members and living close by. And
that's something that I don't think we talk about enough. The grieving, or the difficult, not even necessarily the grieving, but just the sense of loss sometimes, or sadness or fear that comes when we are taking the next step. It could be even a new relationship. There are some things you'll have to let go to accept the new, like, maybe some autonomy and maybe some of your time. And I don't think we talk enough about that.
No.
About how hard it is to move forward with something that we have always wanted, or something that we know could be good for us, even exciting, but yet feels scary, can feel sad, it can feel all the things.
Yeah. I wonder if, like I'm just thinking of a greeting card, you know, like when you get a new job or you get a new home, it's always like happy and congratulations and excitement.
Yeah.
But where are the greeting cards that go, this is really happy and it's also normal?
Yeah.
If you feel a bit of a loss and a bit of sadness to leave everyone behind.
It's also a bit crap.
Yeah. Yeah. Hallmark, take note.
Yeah. I'm happy for you, but this also sucks a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's where we need to hold on to the duality of these experiences. Like we can hold both things in one hand or in both of our hands. We can feel apprehensive and excited. It's kind of like the flip.
Yeah. It's literally two sides of a coin, isn't it?
Yeah. But I wonder if you've shared, or if you feel comfortable to share how you feel with your partner.
How does your partner feel as well? Because in this you've written...
Shall I get it?
Yeah. You've written, I'm thrilled for their success and I feel like I'm sacrificing. But we've not really... I don't feel like I get a taste of how do they feel? Like, are they also... How do they feel about leaving behind their friends, their family, their current job?
Yeah.
What's their take on it?
Yeah.
And have you, as we were saying, have you had conversations about it? Or because they were, you know, working towards this next step, whether that was the goal, and so because that was the goal, maybe it wasn't considered what gets lost when a goal is achieved.
You know, one thing that I would be mindful of actually is having a shared vision and goal for your family or for your relationship. Because I think there is the potential for resentment to really kick in if this feels like this is for my partner, this is their dream, I'm doing it for them, rather than this is what we have decided for us because it's going to take us into this position, or it's going to make life more enjoyable, we'll have more time to do this, or we'll have more money to be able to travel more and to save for our future. Where is the shared goal and shared vision here? And I think that will be important to pay heed to, so it doesn't feel like this is just for them.
That is so wise.
Okay, thanks. But I think it could be you could easily move into resentment, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Particularly if you're very happy to make this sacrifice now, but what happens when things change? Maybe what happens when your parents start aging and maybe they need more support? What happens when I don't know if you do want a family, or if you have a family already, kids, and you need some extra support? Like, what happens when things change and actually what you need changes? It's easier to stick with a difficult situation if you know that the why is keeping you going. But if the why is just about making them happy, that's not going to sustain you.
No.
That's not going to sustain you in the long run. So yeah, tap into... I think that question was really good. Like, if this were the other way around, would you want it for yourself? And also, if not, and I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to make this a sacrifice for your partner, but what else? Can you also add to that? Can you also add to that, to your reason why you're going?
Where are you in this reason?
Yeah. It's a tough one though, isn't it?
It is really tough. It is really tough. I feel that this person just feels quite stuck in their conflict. Like, I just get a sense of this person feeling quite alone with it.
And also, would your partner feel okay with you saying, actually, I don't want this for us? What happens to the relationship?
Yeah.
Is there another way of looking at this rather than it being, does your partner's career fail or flop if you don't take this opportunity?
Yep. Does your relationship
fail? Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe it could, to play devil's advocate, it actually could. And that's never an easy conversation to have.
Well, you know, as you were talking about, like, what's your vision? It almost, I got this image of like two people making vision boards about their life.
Yeah.
And actually, did they create one together, or did they create one that has an overlap that comes together?
Yeah.
That has this like middle bit.
Yeah.
And does, you know, moving abroad to another country, is that included in that?
Would you say there's a preference for either of those?
What do you mean?
So like having a vision board where you both have two separate ones and then you have a joint one, or would you advise couples to have their separate vision boards that overlap?
I would say start with having your own separate ones.
Yeah.
Because you need to know yourself first in the relationship and what you're bringing and what you want as well from your partner. But I think your vision boards can start conversations with each other. And then, yeah, you could definitely create one with like, what's our couple's vision board?
Yeah, yeah.
Where does that take us together?
Yeah.
And then if you have a family, like, what's our family's vision board? Like, what do we want for our unit together? And you can both have like different views. But I guess what goes on the vision board is, what's the compromise?
Yeah.
But to me, it just gets a sense, I don't know, like I get a bit of a sense of something in this seems a little bit like it happened maybe like individually, like the person who got the career progression is on this path and this other person has been supporting them. And now they're there. It's like, great, we're here. Oh, wait, I have all these feelings that maybe I haven't voiced previously because I've just been supporting you this whole time.
And that happens. That definitely happens. I've definitely seen that in the clinic room. And it's a hard one to come back from, particularly if it's years down the line. And then you're suddenly realizing, whoa, maybe this relationship has worked because I've played second fiddle. And that's not going to work for me going forward anymore.
Yeah.
And then what happens to the relationship? Can the relationship withstand changing and changing its form and shape to accommodate both parties' needs? Or actually, does it only work if one person is the starring role?
Yeah. The captain of the ship.
The captain of the ship.
Yeah.
Big dilemma indeed.
I don't think I was expecting it to be that big.
I wasn't.
No. When I read that, I was like, oh, okay. And then actually I felt a bit like, oh, wow, this is
It is a major dilemma, like they said.
This is a hard one because actually it's got so many facets to it, doesn't it? I think it's got, as you said, the individual needs of this person that potentially have been unvoiced. And then what that means to the relationship.
Yeah.
And if the other person is willing to hear that.
And also, is the other person willing to sacrifice their happiness for you also? Is it a two-way street?
Yeah. Lots to think about for you. But just by giving us this dilemma, you're more in touch with your needs.
Yeah, you are.
So you've obviously managed to get to a place and now use that to start having conversations with yourself with these questions we've asked you. And hopefully have those conversations within your relationship.
Yeah.
Wherever that may take you.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sending that in.
Yeah.
Should we go to our final dilemma for today?
Let's do it.
Okay.
So this is our last dilemma, and this comes in from a male in his late 40s, and he says, I've been on sick leave for the past 5 months due to burnout from my intense job in advertising. As I prepare to return to work, I'm feeling anxious about preventing another episode of burnout. I'll be meeting with my manager and occupational health upon my return. What steps can I take to ensure I don't fall back into the trap of prioritizing work over my well-being? I was in such an awful place, prioritizing work needs over my own. I really don't want that to happen again. Please help me.
Oh, cry for help.
And do you know what? Firstly, I think so many people can relate to this or have been through this or are worried about going through this.
I'd say half my caseload is
Yes.
this.
Yep.
Is
Yep.
exactly this.
Yep.
Burnout and
when we did some work for that bank,
oh yes,
this just came up, didn't it?
Yeah.
All the time.
I find it in a few banks. If I'm going to be honest, I won't name and shame, but
No.
I think the culture really encourages burnout in the corporate sector. Yeah, you're not alone with this. Absolutely not alone with this. And I really like that you're preemptively thinking about what can be different next time round. And you've already identified that for you, it's about prioritizing work, and you want some more balance in your life, which sounds like you're moving into health, because you're already aware that you need more balance and you want to do something about it, which is fantastic. So, I mean, maybe you could even start to think, what does work-life balance look like for me? And it may not be things are evenly balanced, but what fills you up?
I'd be wanting to know, whilst you've been off work, I think you would have had this acute period where you would have been quite unwell, emotionally and mentally and physically probably. And then as you started to recover from that acute period, what are the things you started doing because you're not at work? So what did your day look like?
Yeah.
What started to spark within you purpose that then you were like, that felt really good today. I'm going to do that again tomorrow. Or I'm going to plan that again for the next week. Maybe it's a hobby that you used to do that you stopped doing. Maybe it was seeing people.
Volunteering.
Cooking.
Exercise.
Eating. Exercise. Exactly. So
Eating. Yeah.
the amount of people I work with that literally used to eat at the end of the day because they did not have or do not have to, or think that they do not have time to eat.
Yeah. It's wild, isn't it?
Wild.
So even start to think about, in this period where you have started to feel better, what has made you feel better? And can you make room for that in your life moving forward?
And I think that is a conversation that if you have a relationship with your manager, and even occupational health, right? Occupational health is for you. It's not necessarily for work. It's actually about what you need. And that's what it should be about. And if you feel safe enough to have that conversation as well with your manager, I would start to talk about that. Like, whilst I've been off, these are the things that have kept me well. And these are the things I want to keep doing in my life that actually I stopped doing because I was overworking.
Yeah.
So these are the ways that I think I might be able to start balancing this and keeping it in my life. How does that look for you whilst I return to work?
And, I think this actually takes quite a lot of courage to have this conversation, because most people may assume, or maybe not even assume, maybe it's actually explicitly or implicitly shared, it's shared with them or enforced that actually work needs to be the priority, and you need to be thinking about how are you contributing to this company? What are you doing for us? Your needs aren't necessarily our concern. Profits are our concern.
Bottom line.
Whatever the case may be. So it can be I think it's quite a courageous thing to do, to go up to your manager, particularly after being off sick for a few months. You're going to be feeling vulnerable in your position anyway. That's just very normal. To then also go back and say, yes, some things are going to actually have to change. It can feel really daunting. But I want you to feel empowered in saying that, because because I think this speaks to a wider issue as well within work culture, that things have to change. The system may need to change.
Yeah, people can't keep burning out.
No. And it may be that it's not just about you not having boundaries and priorities, but it may be that the work or the way the work is done is actually not conducive to people's mental well-being. And that will spark a wider conversation about systemic changes that need to occur. And it may be that it can feel quite daunting to be the person to initiate that, or to try and be the first domino to topple.
But I wonder if you were, how many other people would say, I feel this way too.
Would speak up.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one. I also think though, there's a conversation to be had with your line manager about what needs to practically change. But I actually think something may need to change within you, because I mean, I've experienced burnout myself, and I've had to take a closer look at why I was more set up for burnout than maybe some of my peers or some of my colleagues or other people. And I think it's because there was a latch or a hook that burnout could easily hang on to, or overworking, or focusing on, or not focusing on other priorities. And that within me was the need, I guess, an identity fusion with achievement, progression, not necessarily progression, but doing a good job.
And what that means and looks like, and who gives you approval for that.
Exactly. So I think that made me more susceptible to burnout. And so that is something, an ideation, a belief system that I actually had to challenge within myself, that actually, why do I need to be busy all the time? Why do I need to be on 100 all the time? Where does that come from?
Where does it come from? Yeah.
Yeah. This need to perform, or this need to please. So that may be something that you could take a closer look at, is what hook do you have that burnout can easily hang on?
And before you burnt out, or whilst you were burning out, you know, in the months leading up to that, if you were to, because a way that you could get to what are those hooks and those belief systems, a way you could get to that is to ask yourself, well, the behaviours that you were showing, if you didn't do them, what were you afraid was going to happen?
Yeah.
Like, and it might be like, people might catch me out, or they might not think I'm good enough, or I'm not a hard worker, or whatever, you know, the beliefs that we tend to see in burnout.
Yeah.
Or that I'm not successful, or, you know, I had to live up to this thing that my parents had of me, or whatever it could be. And that will give you a clue into what latches are within you. And then, you know, challenging that now, and, you know, asking yourself, if a friend said to you, oh my God, I'm just working so hard, I'm so tired, like I've got no time for myself at the moment, I just feel like I have to perform, because if I don't, I'm just not going to be good enough, and people are going to see that you would say, yeah, they will. Like, would you say that to them? You wouldn't.
No.
And so what would you say, and how do you start saying that to yourself, and coming up with a mantra, I think, for yourself as you return to work, to say, I am good enough, there's nothing to prove, I don't have to take on extra stuff that doesn't feel in line with where I am right now. These are my boundaries.
I'm more than my work.
Yeah.
There's more to me than just this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Having a mantra.
Yeah.
Having something to, because you will inevitably feel the temptation to slip into burnout.
You will.
And obviously that's not a conscious choice.
No.
But you will, because you will. So I think being prepared and having those statements, those mantras or affirmations could be really useful.
Especially when you write them in a good state of mind, because then they're easy, and write them down on a piece of paper, because then they're easier to say it to yourself, rather than trying to like draw back into your head, what did I say, when you're back in that, you know, physiological state of burnout. And then another thing that you could add to this, because you kind of asked, you know, what can I do so to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Well, I don't think there's any way of preventing it from happening, so don't let that fear as well, you know, hold you back in a way where it's like, well, I can only return back to work when I absolutely know I'll never do this again, because I don't think there's any way of knowing whether you will or you won't. But what you can do is you could come up with a coping card, is what I like to call them, and have on there, what are your red flags?
Yes. like what are the triggers
Yeah.
that you are starting to slip
Yeah.
into,
Yeah.
or you're entering into burnout territory again.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is like maybe saying yes constantly, taking on more work, staying late, checking emails when you get home,
Skipping lunch,
not drinking, hobby stopping, not meeting friends,
difficulty sleeping, difficulty concentrating,
snappy, irritable.
Yeah.
So make a list of those, and you can keep checking in with yourself every week. Like, how have I looked this week? Does any of this sound quite familiar? Or actually, am I doing okay? And
yeah. And also, if you are someone who experienced a lot of physical symptoms of burnout, you can also use that as your tool, like checking in with your body, having a real keen sense of like your bodily awareness. That's something that I think I've been trying to pay more attention to as well. And I think, the times where I easily say yes, and then later I feel like my stomach is going like, oh. And we did it later, like we had a conversation earlier, we had a conversation about this. Like there's something in me that feels like literally my stomach is going like this. And
like you were saying, like I feel like I should do this because I can, but I don't actually want to do it. And it doesn't fit in line with everything else that I have in my life.
Yeah, just because I can do something doesn't mean I should.
Exactly.
So paying attention to that sensation within my body let me know that maybe I've overstepped a boundary here, or I've not respected a boundary that I have for myself.
Your body will always tell you.
Your body tells you. Yeah. And so that was like, okay, light bulb moment. I need to change my answer here. So
and also that you can change your answer.
Yeah.
Like even if you have agreed to take something on, like you're allowed to change your answer and actually go back and say, do you know what? I actually had a look at my diary, my current workload, and I'm not going to be able to do that. So
So I can't do that. Oh, I can't take that project on actually.
Yeah.
This is a good one. I don't know if you've used this or if you guys have used this at work before. When you find that your plate is being added to, asking your manager, okay, yep, I can take that on. What would you be comfortable with me dropping in order to take that on? So, because I can't do it all. You don't even have to say that, but even
that
saying,
feels really confident. I love that.
Yeah, like, yep, totally. I see that this project is the priority right now. So what needs to drop?
Yeah.
For me to do this,
because that conversation is then collaborative. It's like you've come to me asking me to solve this problem.
Yeah.
Yes, I can do it, but actually that creates another problem for me. So can you now help me solve my problem of having too much work?
Yeah.
Handing it back.
Yeah.
I love that one.
I think that's really empowering. And also, I think for the right manager, that will signal confidence, assertiveness, foresight, insight, all the things that, actually, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
Rather than just saying yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
And then eventually having to let someone down because you can't do it all.
No, and you know what it made me think of is that if a manager got upset about it and was saying something like, well, you're not being a team player here, I'd actually want to be a bit cheeky and push that back to them and go, but you're not being a team player because I've actually just said to you that I can do it, but something needs to change here and I'm asking you to support me with that.
Yes.
So where's your part in this team?
Yep.
Right?
Boom. If you can say that back to your line manager, then you're going to have no problems moving forward. Your boundaries will be intact for sure.
Yeah. Those cheeky boundaries.
Yeah. Cheeky boundaries, cheeky managers.
So I think we've given you lots of tips, and I think that's what you're looking for, really. I don't think this was necessarily to go somewhere hugely deep. I think you can by asking yourself, as Vicky said, what are your latches and what are your beliefs that maybe led to the burnout, and then here's actually your little package, your coping strategies, your action plan, your toolkit. That's the word I was looking for. I was like, it's going to come to me. Of not how to prevent it, but how to be aware.
Yeah.
I think self-awareness here is the key, not prevention. We were really energized for this one. I think it's
know.
because we work with it a lot.
Oh gosh, yeah. So much.
Yeah.
So much.
Lots to say on this.
Oh, I have lots to say about, leadership, management style, mental health in the workplace. There's lots to say about that.
Lots to say. But well done in getting yourself better.
And taking that time.
And not pushing through. And, it seems like you're kind of ready. Keep it phased on your return as well. Don't just go, guns blazing. And keep checking in. Yeah, with those questions.
Yeah. Oh, so that was our last dilemma for this season.
We're wrapping up season 1.
We are. Oh my goodness.
I can't believe we're here.
I can't believe
a little bit
either.
emotional.
Oh. So our usual question, what have you learned?
Yeah.
But also, maybe we can also ask ourselves what we've learned just from doing this season.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What should we start with then? Should we start with what we learnt from
from
today's episode?
Yeah.
I really learnt from you, and I really liked the idea of, in a relationship, the vision that you have for your relationship, for yourself, and the difference between the two, and then the overlap and the discussion that I'll have my own vision and they will have their vision, and then as a couple, what's our vision?
Yeah. I was going to say I learned that from you.
I felt like you said it.
You said the overlap.
Oh, did I?
And I liked that.
But I think you made me think of the overlap.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't considered that either.
Oh.
That it's great when relationships naturally overlap.
Yeah.
And how hard it can be to have a relationship where there's a lot of love there, but actually your visions are completely going in two different directions, and you're having to physically try and force them together, and how much easier it is when they just naturally align.
Yeah, but I guess that's what I was talking about, was the other side of it, is when they don't naturally align and you've got separate visions.
Okay. Yeah.
How do you then create an overlap?
A third one.
Yeah, like a third overlap. That
Yeah.
they're on this journey, I'm on this journey, and I still want to be with this person, but how do we, what are our visions
Yeah.
for us as a couple?
Yeah.
I'm sure you said that.
Okay. I think I said the word visions, but I really liked the overlap
bit.
because I didn't think of it in that way specifically.
This is what I love about this.
I know, just being able to just chat and just flesh things out.
Just flesh
and
it out.
Yeah.
What did you learn, V?
So what I took from this session is, what you were talking about, the holding, and being really clear about who is holding you, and owning that that's what you need, and asking for it. And sometimes you just need space to feel held and to feel like you can just literally breathe a sigh of relief, and you can just literally metaphorically collapse in someone's arms. And I really like that. And I also really like the idea of asking people, what do you need? What do you need from me?
Yeah.
How can I best support you?
Yeah.
So that's something that I took from today. What about this whole season?
That's a big one.
Should I go?
Yeah. You were ready.
I was ready. I think that I have really learned to tolerate the beginning stages of not being really good at something, because that's something that I typically don't do.
Yeah.
I only do things if I feel like I'm going to be very good at it, and I think I may have mentioned this even in the intro.
Yeah, you did.
And I've just had to tolerate lighting issues, mic issues, and this isn't going so well, and still persevering and tolerating that. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah.
That's life, and I think that that's going to continue with me. It's okay for it not to be great, and things will get better.
Yeah.
I can tolerate this discomfort.
Yeah. I think you've handled it really well, because this person mowing whatever this tractor, whatever this noise is.
I've not even noticed it.
I thought you were going to say something. I was like, I'm just going to wait for her to bring it up. Because otherwise I just keep going, otherwise you'll want to.
I want to stop. Let's do it again. I was the queen of, let's start again.
Yeah, you were. And someone actually recently asked me that, how many times did it take you to do a take? And I think I forgot about the early stages. And I was like, oh, we don't really do takes, actually. We just go with it. And
we don't. There was a day that I think we did about 5, 6, and we probably got like halfway through. And I was like, no, let's start all the way from the beginning again.
And then I don't even think we ever even used that one.
Yeah. No, we did.
Did we?
We did, I remember. But yeah, so that's something that I've learned to tolerate. What about you? What has this season taught you?
So what I've really learned is, I think sometimes you think you know where something is going. Like, and you have this preconceived idea, it's going to look like this, it's going to be this way, this is going to be the outcome of it. And this experience has really taught me, I think, the exciting part of like, actually you don't know. And just really embracing that more and leaning into it. Because of course, I think like everybody else, I like a bit of certainty of what something's going to look like and how it's going to turn out. But I think the more we've done this, the more I've just like, and I feel it as a physical experience as well in my body, to just be like, I don't know what today's going to look like for us. I don't even know, like, I think, you know, with the dilemmas beforehand, we used to chat about them quite a bit, and, you know, and then we don't really even do that, do we?
We just go in blind.
Yeah, we just go in blind, like,
See what comes up.
And I think that's the bit, which is what we always wanted to do. I've like, it's like a bit of a full circle moment, like, come back to it. And it's co-creation. That's what I'm really taking away, and what I've learned is, like, the power of co-creation, and also the safety of co-creation.
I like that. Yeah. This has felt very safe doing this with you.
It has.
Because I think typically, well, definitely how we were taught anyway, in our training, our school of training, was to be a little bit reserved and not necessarily share you.
Yeah.
Yourself. Don't share yourself. Don't impede on the process.
I was told to not even raise my eyebrows.
I was told not to change my hair.
Oh my God.
Actually, that's a lie. Okay. I wasn't told that, but that's the message that was kind of given.
Yeah.
And as a black woman, my hair changes all the time. So I think it has felt very safe with you to share parts of myself that typically I may not do. I do it a little bit in the therapy room now, but, you know, typically I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And that's felt quite nice and quite authentic.
I was going to say, it's just been really authentic, hasn't it, for both of us to be ourselves. And even like when we stop recording, this just carries on.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah, and the dynamic as well.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. And the laughter, like, obviously you guys won't have seen this, but sometimes we literally laugh at each other so much. Like today, there was a potential mouse.
Let's not go there. Okay. Let's not go there.
And I laughed so much, I had to...
You had to redo your makeup.
I had to redo my makeup, but that happens all the time. Those belly laughs, and yeah.
Yeah, that's been nice.
Yeah. So season 1, guys.
Yeah,
that's a wrap.
It's a wrap. Please let us know what you've learned from this season and how you found the season. Any questions, future dilemmas. We're always wanting to get more.
Yeah, absolutely. Please, you know, you can follow all the details below about how to contact us, and following us on our Instagrams and our TikToks. Please do, and please like share our podcasts and subscribe. It just helps us to, you know, feel heard and keep doing what we're doing. Like, it's not just going into an abyss somewhere. And, you know, we're really on board for feedback. We've actually got quite a lot of feedback, haven't we?
We have.
And we've really appreciated that, but we're so on board for it. And you might see some new changes coming in
the second season.
Yeah, for season 2. But until then, we will... We will see you on the floor very, very soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.